Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I got a special interview with Richard, the CEO of JOOLA. We're at the JOOLA launch event for their Pro Series, I guess Pro 4.
Pro 4, yeah.
So we've been meeting today at this really beautiful location, playing some pickleball, learning about the new paddles, and get a chance to sit down with you, Richard. So give us a little bit of idea of how long you've been working with JOOLA. You weren't always the CEO. You kind of worked your way up to that. Yeah. Give us a little bit about the background, how you kind of ended up in this spot.
Sure. So JOOLA is a pretty old company, actually. Started in 1952. Originally a German company, focused on the sport of table tennis. I actually got involved with JOOLA around 2006.
Do you mind just holding it just a little closer?
Yeah, around 2006. So we were looking for a new sponsor for tournaments. So I was running table tennis tournaments all over the U.S. And we were looking for a new sponsor. And they came to us and also said, hey, we're also looking for a new distributor in the U.S. So I never really wanted to do inventory business, but we gave it a try. And that's when we jumped into selling table tennis equipment all over the U.S. So from there, the products that the German company made weren't really made for the U.S. market. So I speak Chinese, and I use that opportunity to also go to China to find ways to create products for the U.S. market. So I spent a lot of years going back and forth and developing exciting products for the U.S. market for the sport of table tennis. In 2019, we had the opportunity to acquire the JOOLA brand. So
we, as in
the U.S. company.
The U.S.
So
company
we were a
did.
distributor of the German brand.
Okay.
And so we took that opportunity, closed the acquisition in 2019, and then suddenly the pandemic hits. So we got all worried that
Probably felt like that was really unlucky timing.
yeah, like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Everyone was, everyone was locked down. Like, what are we going to do? So luckily, table tennis was something that everyone wanted to do at home. You're locked up at home. What are you going to do? You're going to play ping pong in your basement,
that'd be a benefit.
in your backyard. So our business grew fairly well then. However, I used to play table tennis competitively, so I would usually go to a table tennis club to play table tennis for exercise. Well, they're all closed. So my sales guy and me, we finally tried out pickleball for the first time. The first time we go out there, there's these 4 new courts right behind our office, and we go play the first time, and next to us are these 2 guys playing at a fast pace, and they are wearing uniforms, and we go up to them and we ask them, who are you guys? And later on, we go back to Google who they are, and we find out they're the #1 doubles partner in the world.
No.
It was Ben Johns and Colin Jones.
So how many times had you been out to play?
First time.
That was the first time.
So what we find out is Ben and Colin are local to us.
Okay.
They live a mile away from my house. So and there's other connections. Like they played table tennis at our table tennis club before. I just never met them before. So that just further intrigued me. So I started taking lessons at
So you didn't know about the pro scene?
Not at all. I knew nothing about pickleball.
Okay.
Just like anyone, what is this weirdly named game?
Okay.
Right. So I go to the YMCA to take lessons, and I meet a guy, the coach there, Eric White, and I start developing paddles myself. And one day I said, Eric, try my paddle. He's like, hey, this is something pretty interesting. So
do you remember what your first prototype was? Like, how was it designed?
Sure. It was a carbon fiber paddle, thermoformed.
Your very first one you came
First
out with?
one. And I had created that Hyperion shape. I looked at all sorts of paddles. I bought every single paddle on the market, and I felt like I could do something better.
So you worked at the factory to make these prototypes?
Yeah.
So you made like a custom mold and talked about, I mean, obviously thermoforming was something they were capable of doing, and you were like, let's try it out?
Yeah, so there's obviously a lot of factories already making pickleball paddles at that point, but I had a couple changes I wanted to make that I felt was good for the construction of the paddle and how it felt. So we tested it out, and Eric said, hey, this paddle's pretty good. Actually, I know Ben Johns. Do you want me to introduce you? So
you're like, I already know Ben. I don't need an introduction.
I didn't have his number. I just met him that one time. So like, hey, why not? So Ben was home for a weekend visiting family, and he was at the University of Maryland at that point. So he tried it out. He's like, hey, that's pretty good, but you know what? There's a couple changes I want to make. So in a couple weeks, I got another prototype out, And then
What were some of his tweaks? What did he suggest?
he had some issues with the length of the handle. He had some like shape changes. Also some
Did he want the handle
hardness.
longer or shorter?
He wanted a longer
Wanted a
handle.
longer?
And then he also wanted the paddle to be a little bit more crisp.
Okay.
So I made some adjustments, and the second time he came by, and he's like, you know what, this could work for me. And he's like, at that point, he was looking for a new sponsor. So just everything went really fast. You know, we negotiated, agreed on terms. He liked that we're all engineers here. And we signed a contract. And then April 1st, 2022, that's when we launched into the sport of pickleball.
I remember when you guys launched, it was so fun seeing someone come in and not like a known brand, because I'd heard of JOOLA, and you guys have obviously been making table stuff for so long, and you came in with the intention to play. You signed Ben early, where so many other brands didn't come in with so much noise, and it was so fun. I remember it was really exciting. And then the innovation of that very first paddle, the foam edge, the little thermoform, the longer hand, the molded handle was all new, and that was you doing that R&D along with Ben.
Yeah.
And then, so you were heavily involved with the R&D process then. Do you still do that now?
I do. However, we brought in some really good talent on our team. We have about 4 engineers. They're spread out all over the world. And we have a very interesting innovation pipeline that allows us to continue to develop, stay ahead of the game. I mean, there's changes all the time. So we're trying our innovation outside of the bounds of what the current rules are. But, you know, anytime you innovate, you got to make sure that, you know, number one, it works within the rules. Number 2, that it's not going to completely shock the market. So like Gen 3, what we see now is that technology was probably a little bit ahead of its time, and that routed quite a few feathers there. So,
yeah. But a lot of people loved it too.
They love it. I mean, people still love it today, even though it went through that whole situation with USAP. A lot of people didn't want to return it. They just love the feeling. They don't play tournaments, so some people do keep it.
Yeah. What's your relationship with the USAP now? Because from my perspective, there was that whole little debacle. You guys went and made the new one with UPAA. From an outsider's perspective, it seemed like you guys weren't playing friendly. Is that how it is? Is there some animosity there still, or how does that relationship look?
Obviously, there's a lawsuit between us, so there is definitely, you know, some animosity there. But for us, you know, it was a necessity for us to come up with something. At that point, we had no trust in how USAP will react to us submitting another paddle. At the same time, UPA was coming to us and say, "Hey, we have a new testing standard. If you guys want to try it out, like we can work with you guys to be one of the first companies to get certified." So we had no choice really, and we said, "All right, let's give this a try." Turns out, you know, I think some of the rules that they created really make sense. How they look at PB core, how they look at now they have some long-range testing standards. So it was refreshing to see someone else come with a different angle at how certification works.
I agree. I've been learning a lot more about that recently, and when UPA first announced, I was skeptical, but over the recent weeks, my opinion is churning, and I actually like a lot of the things they're doing, and I don't think it's a bad thing to have too. In fact, I think it's healthy to push pickleball forward in a way, whereas not relying on one idea, and we can find the best solution moving forward. But your future paddles are USAP approved. So obviously you're doing dual certification. You think that's important? You're going to work with both?
I think so. USAP is more focused on the amateur game. In fact, most of their testing standards, my assumption is that they're talking to amateurs. From our relationship with pros, we don't know anyone that's talking to USAP about certification or paddle standards. And I know that the UPA spends a lot of time speaking to the pros and understanding their concerns about having a level playing field for all the players. So it's very interesting how the two organizations are really going out at it at a really different angle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm beginning to learn. And I didn't understand that even a month ago. And so it's been good for me to see that. And now I can understand how they're approaching it, why they're approaching it with those ways. But it's something that brands have to deal with, and it's added costs. You have to, if I understand, you have paddles coming out that some are going to be dual certified, some will be specific to one over the other because the rules are different. that's difficult as a brand, right?
It is. However, we understand that the amateurs and the USAP require a certain standard, and the pros, they need a little bit more grip. I mean, based on the UPA rules, you can have your grit standard to be slightly higher. So we want to cater to our pros. They need to have the best equipment to play at the best level, but at the same time, we want to cater to the amateurs as well. So that's why we created this dual standard and also UPA only standard, because based on PB core and everything else of the paddle right now, the USAP standard can qualify for based on UPA standards as well. However, the UPA grit standard is a little bit elevated over what USAP allows.
Do you think that'll cause any confusion with your customers in the market and selecting which paddle?
I think so. It definitely will. And it'll take some time for people to understand why there's two different standards. One is the pro standard, one is the USAP standard. And I think if there's no further cooperation, that those standards could further, be further apart over time.
Yeah. So speaking more to your the new paddles, the Pro Force, what has you excited about these? How involved were you with the R&D? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the new paddles are a evolution of the Gen 3S paddles. So what we've done is we've created a new foam structure in around the neck. So that creates a vibration dampener. It lowers the weight so that it's a more balanced paddle. And also it creates even more flexibility in the entire paddle. And the power that you're getting from the Gen 3 development paddle, Gen 3S, is from the paddle face. However, this paddle uses an entire frame structure to create just a little bit more power as well. Again, we're not saying a huge jump in power, just a little bit. But what's great about this paddle is with this new vibration dampener system, it creates additional stability over the entire paddle so that, if you're hitting off center shots, you have a little bit more feel and more of a sense of stability to get the ball back.
Yeah, I love that. As I think about the future of paddles, now that we've had this power gap, it's fun to see you guys starting to innovate around other things, improving feel, improving twist weight, improving forgiveness, and the flex factors. And so for me, it's exciting. I like to see these types of innovations. I think it's great. And in conjunction with this, you guys recently launched this new Agassi brand. I'm a huge Andre fan. When I saw you guys get involved with him, I was like, yes, this is exciting. And that's going to be like its own kind of branch and brand. Tell us about what that brand's for.
Yeah, Agassi came and it was a very interesting idea to work with Agassi. There's a lot of tennis players, a lot of other sports figures that could be great for pickleball, but Agassi brought a sense of authenticity. He absolutely loves this sport. He wants to see it grow. For him, it was a way for him to get more active again. So we feel like Agassi is going to reach a much wider audience. Pickleball, in the greater sense, is still kind of a niche sport. I think there's a lot more runway for it to grow, and our pros are amazing already. However, their household name awareness is still not fully there around the world. What Agassi and Steffi Graf bring is that awareness. So we hope to use their name power, their brand power, to really bring even more people to the sport. We think it's a great thing, not just for JOOLA, but for the sport of pickleball, to really engage them to bring even more people to the sport.
I love that. And the lines you're making with him, there's a pro line. There's also some more consumer, or I guess, I don't know what you call it, more budget-friendly lines.
Yep.
It's a little more spread out than maybe the Pro Force.
So there's more entry-level
that's
paddles,
what I'm looking for. Thank you. This is why you're CEO and I'm not.
No, it's just part of the terminology of the business side. But it's important for us to get paddles to people that are just starting out. Most people don't start out with the most expensive paddle. So we're starting at more entry-level price points so that it's more accessible to people who are just starting in the sport. They know Agassi's name, they can try it out.
Yeah,
now,
I think that's a big deal.
Agassi and Steffi, they are avid players. They want the best equipment.
They're good too.
Yeah, they're really good. So it was important for us to also make a pro paddle under their name as well. And their shape, it's actually pretty amazing. Like at first, when you look at it, it looks a little bit strange. But then when you pick it up and you try it, you see that the shape actually helps the weight balance, helps your power. And it was hand selected by Agassi. We gave him so many shapes.
What was his involvement with that process?
So he gave us an idea like, hey, I'm looking for a little bit more power. I'm looking for stability. And I want to have fast hand speed. So, it's a balance of weight. It's a balance of where you want that weight. So after trying all these different shapes, this was the one he
landed on.
This is the one.
Yeah, we were just playing with it. It's definitely got its own flavor compared to the others. And it's amazing how just a little shift in shape can do that for you. And I would love to hear the story of how you met Agassi, how this conversation started. In my mind, he's this huge figure, this iconic tennis American kind of hero, right?
Yeah.
I don't imagine you can just walk up to him and start talking to him. How did you get that started?
So it was through some mutual relationships. He's a ambassador for Lifetime Fitness. We're also a partner of Lifetime Fitness, and they're building pickleball courts everywhere in the country. And there's a lot of people that's where their starting point for pickleball is. So Lifetime and Agassi have a relationship already, and the Lifetime folks introduced us. And I think Agassi was talking to multiple pickleball brands, kind of seeing, hey, which company is the one that really would help me try to expand on helping the sport grow. So after multiple conversations, we explained what our vision and direction for what we want to do in the sport of pickleball is, and he found that great alignment, because what we're trying to do is we're not just sitting around as a paddle company waiting for the sport to grow, just kind of taking on that organic growth. We want to be that catalyst for the growth of the sport. So like right now in Asia, also in South America, we have subsidiaries, we have boots on the ground there working on building the sport. And with that, he got excited because that's building even more audience, even more people to come play. That aligns properly with him. So after multiple conversations, we're so excited that he selected us.
That's so exciting. I'm sure there's a lot of props to yourself that you might not be getting. I mean, you've recruited the Johns, you've recruited. I'm sure you got some of your own sauce. You must be really good at it. Recruiting's tough.
It is. But I think for me, it's more about, I'm not just trying to sell paddle. I have wants to really do more in the space. Pickleball is just starting. Like, when in our lifetime do we get involved in such a sport at the infancy, right?
It's so fun.
So the whole entire ecosystem with a whole white space, there's so much opportunity for us to build the sport more. Coming from the sport of table tennis, I've been in table tennis since I was 12 years old. I've seen the high performance plans, Olympic strategies, how the sport is growing worldwide, how it's played worldwide. And we've taken a lot of our experiences from the sport of table tennis and used it to help pickleball start to grow as well. We're involved in coaching. We're involved in healthcare. We have a program called 150 Plus Health that is trying to use Medicare to get pickleball paddles into more seniors, but at the same time teach them, hey, you need to warm up properly. You need to stretch. You need to play this way better. So it's not just about selling paddles. It's the entire space that we're looking at it in a very different way than other brands are.
Love that. Richard, thank you for hopping on. I appreciate
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming
your
here.
answers, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.